now we're seeing like the outside culture of the fan base. Like maybe we should be doing this interview with our shirts off.
Yeah,
like
I didn't ask you guys
right?
if I should have come with a shirt on or not. I decided to take the chance and wear a shirt.
Hey guys, Alex Rich.
Ben Poremba.
Hey, we are excited to let you know that we have episodes of our podcast, Jews in the Lou, dropping every other week, and you're not going to want to miss. We have some great guests lined up.
Amazing. And while I have you, I want to thank the St. Louis Jewish Light for their incredible partnership and support of our podcast. St. Louis Jewish Light doing amazing work for our community, keeping us informed with stories, with updates.
And visit stlJewishLight.org. Subscribe to their newsletter. They'll keep you up to date on everything going on.
Absolutely. Well, see you soon.
So I'm looking.
So are we on? We'll just tell you straight up, we are totally just organic, and we're just going to talk about whatever.
Great.
This probably we're very
There's nothing
minimally
organic
going to.
about today, Alex.
Well,
because
whatever. He's mad that we have the real migrophones.
Yeah, we have the real microphone.
What did you want to have?
We usually have like little things that we clip on
like
the
the
coffee.
little-
But Alex, to borrow a line from a recent comedian, has schmutz in his pants right now because Alex is a huge baseball fan.
I'm a baseball guy, but I'm not like.
Yes, you are, and the prospects of having you on the show has been a big deal for him. Just to look at the camera and tell the camera that's the case.
We got Chaim Bloom,
So-
president of baseball operations for the St. Louis Cardinals, joining us today.
And here's the thing, I know nothing about baseball.
I've been accused of that from time to time.
Is
also.
that right?
No, so I want to say you've done a little more preparation for this one.
I really haven't, though. Honestly, I mean, obviously, I know your baseball background, and I think a lot of people do know a little bit about how you got your start. But I think really we just want to get to know Chaim and Chaim in St. Louis. And talking about Chaim, when you tell people your name, do you throw a little in there?
So I'll be honest with you. It depends on the audience.
Okay.
You'll say chime?
No.
No, but I bet you
No,
get called Chaim all the time.
All the time. Chime, chame,
Yeah.
you name it. I've been called it. Again, I've been called worse, so it's fine. I usually will just say Chaim, but I'll admit to sometimes dialing up or down the ch based on how much I think the audience can handle it.
I mean, it makes sense.
We'll tell you about this thing though. So this got rolling because he and I would meet, and it was over Hanukkah.
See, there you go.
I have it naturally, so I don't have to pretend.
Right, but you didn't really lean into it.
Yeah.
Well, Ben's from Israel. You got to
Yeah.
tell him a little bit about you.
Yeah,
I mean, I
about
can
me a
tell.
little bit.
Yeah.
You can already tell.
He knows.
I know
Who knows?
the accent. I actually had recently. I was on a trip, went to a birthday party out of town, and ended up having an Israeli Uber driver where you can just
Did you
sort of
really?
tell. Yeah. So we
you
ended
tell
up
him
getting
it was
into
Chaim?
conversation. Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, but it's a very organic thing, meaning we don't really rehearse for this. We don't really read your Wikipedia page. I have just this morning, right, 15 minutes before I walked in, just to kind of know.
Those are the best conversations when they're
And
organic.
it's
I think you're the second person with the Wikipedia page that we've had.
Who was the
Maybe
first?
the third.
Who was
We had Josh Schertz, SLU coach, great guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've met Coach.
I actually haven't
Have you
yet.
not?
I'd really like to.
Great
obviously
guy.
He does a
Great guy.
He was
tremendous
one of the
job.
original 8 on Jews in the Lou.
That's
We
right.
had Phil Rosenthal, creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, and Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix. We had him on, and then Chaim Bloom,
Yes. I mean, we had other dignitaries. Scott Rosenblum.
Scott Rosenblum,
But, you
big
know,
attorney in town.
Yeah, there's big names. Susan Sherman was on our show. But the idea is to present our audience, mostly Jews, mostly living in the Lou, with kind of a. We're not talking about Jewish things particularly, but we want to present a more diverse picture of Jewish life in St. Louis, meaning we have people from different backgrounds, different age groups, different occupations, and we talk about what they do. Their Jewishness could be central to what they do, could inform a lot of what they do, but it could also be just a footnote, and we've had that too, you know?
Mhm.
So we will ask you about Jewish things because you have such a Jewish name, like. And I also read that you keep kosher, so I want to kind of investigate a little more of that. But So St. Louis, how you've been here officially what, a year now, a couple of years?
Well, it depends where you sort of draw the line of being
Okay.
here. So I started working for the Cardinals in January of 24.
Okay.
And I was in that advisory role for a couple of years. The first year was really, I was almost basically like a consultant,
Yes.
where my job was to really get to know, in particular, two departments, our player development department and the performance department.
They need consulting in the performance department, from my understanding. No.
Depends what performance department.
Yeah, we
I
can
don't know about
talk.
the
We can
baseball
talk
one,
about
but
that. We
yeah.
can talk about what performance actually means. Like, I think people could hear that and they could say, "Isn't the whole thing the performance department?" But we could talk about that. And then in the fall of 24, the advisory role continued, but then we formalized this succession plan. Where I would slide into this president job at the end of the 25 season and also start to implement some changes in those two departments throughout the 25 season.
Yes.
So that was the point where really it was, we basically decided to come together and do this, started planning the move. But, really, I would say I've been living here more than not, I think, since the president job started in October.
When did you move your family here?
They haven't moved yet. They're coming
haven't moved
they're
yet.
coming at the end of the summer.
But this will be home. I mean,
Yes.
that's a lot of people. They'll take a job and they'll commute back and forth. This is going to be home for you and your family.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we got everybody teed up in schools, and
Yep.
we're figuring out exactly how to navigate that, and obviously still have a lot of family back out east and different things, my wife's career, et cetera, that
Yeah.
will take some navigation, but this will be home.
How do you feel so far that St. Louis has embraced you, not only the overall community, but the Jewish community here in town?
Oh, it's been amazing, both. I mean, I don't take that for granted. I mean, I got to see the place a little bit, obviously, before really, becoming more visible and moving into this role. So I'm not surprised just getting to know some people around here because it's just a place where people are incredible.
Sure.
But really on both fronts, it's been great. And this has happened really everywhere that I've moved. I moved a couple places, for my career, and I'm always blown away by the embrace and the hospitality from the Jewish community. Here, it's just been both. You can, as an East Coaster, you don't really appreciate until you're here just how much baseball matters. It's an amazing baseball
Totally.
town, right? You know that. Like, everybody in baseball knows that. But you sort of have to feel it to really understand it. And you can just tell, especially being in the jobs that I've been in here and am in now,
Yeah.
you just feel it going through every day.
Yeah.
So it's been great. I keep joking every time we win a game that I get a little 24 extra hours on the honeymoon period.
You do.
Whenever that ends, because I know how this works. But in all seriousness, people have been amazing.
Yeah, and I think that speaks a lot to kind of just the community that I think we always talk about. Is just everybody kind of feels like everybody, and I'm sure that you get approached like people have known you for their entire life, and they come up and have a conversation with you, and you seem like you're an approachable person where you're willing to have those conversations that maybe other people in your role, regardless of the team, don't necessarily have. I think a lot of people may not be ingrained in the community, may not be part of what the actual city and the team means to us. And I think that everything that you're kind of saying right now, I think really hits home for me personally. I think one question that I've always kind of wondered was, and maybe this goes back to your start, but why baseball? And we can kind of go back even further. I don't necessarily want to go back to your childhood and upbringing unless that plays into it. But why baseball?
I actually kind of do, but that's okay.
We can. I mean,
Do you want to go back all the way
No,
right
I
now?
want to hear a little bit from Chaim about his hometown and what does his hometown mean. I know you're from Philly. Philly in sports, I mean, that fan base is
Right.
known to be very aggressive. How does that inform? And then, of course, Philly had a very strong Jewish community,
Yeah.
a very loud Jewish community. So I want to know this world of Chaim growing up, sports and Jewishness, and when those worlds collide, and when
Mhm.
those worlds have tension.
Yeah, well, so they are kind of related.
Yeah.
Because I've been passionate about baseball ever since I was pretty little. I was never any good at playing it. So that was
Kinda
also
like
apparent.
Alex.
That was also apparent
Hey
from
man,
a very young
my
age.
claim to fame is I was actually Kyle Schwarber's backup catcher at Indiana.
Really?
I was.
That's
We were
amazing.
room together on the roads and stuff. So that'll be a sidebar
Yes.
conversation. But maybe no, if you serve him a few brews the night before a game, he might probably will have a little bit of fun.
That's
Yeah.
That's not shocking to hear about Kyle. He was. I mean, as you know, I was around him for a few months
For
in
sure.
Boston. He's incredible,
Great
incredible guy, and he can hit too. But yeah, so I wasn't a very skilled player, but I loved the game, loved everything about it,
Right.
loved watching it, following it, loved the history of it, and just became obsessed with it from a young age. It wasn't until I'd say kind of the end of high school, beginning of college, when I started to understand this whole world behind the curtain, baseball ops. That was a time. So I graduated high school in 2000.
Okay.
And that was a time when doors were starting to open up in baseball for people with backgrounds like mine. And, it's just, you realize like, hey, it is at least theoretically possible to do this for a living. So why don't I try to do it
Right.
and see if I can scratch and claw my way in? And was able to do that. Both by working hard and hustling and also being in the right place at the right time a couple times. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
So that's why I say they're kind of tied together, because I was just passionate about it as a kid. It just, I don't know why. Like, I don't have a good answer for the why. I can tell you all these things that I love about baseball. We can get really lyrical and romantic about it if we want, and I believe those things.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you like what you like. I don't know why it captivated me the way it did. And I've come to, I followed a lot of sports as a kid, whatever, as a Philly sports fan, like we
Yes.
talked about. But baseball was always number one. And I could tell you all the lovely things about it, but it wasn't like I sat there with a pros and cons list and said,
Yeah.
which sport should I care about the most? This just was it.
Yeah.
Do you, and speaking of like baseball and your Jewish background, obviously, kind of one thing I've noticed is in the front office of baseball specifically, and I didn't do any research on this at all, this is just my observation, but I've noticed that baseball specifically tends to typically have more of, I would think, Jews in the front offices
I don't
or
know
in the
anything about it. I
ownership
know
groups.
though that
Or
there is a very keen love of baseball amongst boomers, Jewish boomers, right?
I would say that's accurate.
No, it's
why
true.
is that? Yeah, I mean,
well, I don't know why it is. It could go back to the history, the pride in what's the famous Jewish player?
Well, there's a few of them, right? You
Okay.
could
What do you
go,
want, like
you
Sandy
could go
Koufax?
Sandy Koufax. You
Koufax.
go back further to Hank Greenberg.
So I think
There's
that
some
there is
playing
some kind
today,
of
right?
collective community pride, and I think that you grow up in, and I think it's a East Coast thing too, possibly. I think growing, Jewish community in the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia. I think there is this love of the game too, and I don't know. But so tell us, you grew up in a religious household? You grew up in a observing household?
Yeah, so I was born in Philly. My folks moved out to the suburbs when I was 5,
Yeah.
and that was summer of 1988.
Yeah.
They still live there, same
Yeah.
house. So my mom is actually from the Midwest.
Okay.
Not here, but from the Midwest. My dad's
From
from
where?
Boston originally, so she was born in Minneapolis.
Okay.
But some of her childhood in the Twin
Yeah.
Cities, some in Chicago. My dad's from Boston.
Okay.
Actually, and still a lot of extended family there. But they met in New York, and then my brother and I were born in Philly,
Yeah.
and that's where they're still there. So that's where I grew up. And observant, conservative Jewish household, but fairly observant.
Yeah.
Kosher home, went to Jewish day schools, the whole deal.
Speaking Hebrew?
I did reasonably well at one point, but when I finished high school, at that point in time, my Hebrew was pretty good, at least conversational, and probably if I had actually immersed myself in it,
Yeah.
I could have become fluent. Now, not to say my Spanish is that great, but whenever
Yeah.
I try to speak Hebrew, it comes out Spanish. But I can-
accent-wise?
No.
the words,
yes,
the
the words, yeah, but I could still understand it reasonably well.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you take a new job with a place like St. Louis, you know about St. Louis, or you don't, or I don't know what degree what you're getting into. Does the Jewish aspect of it important to you? Like, were you seeking a congregation? Were you looking whether there's school nearby where you're going to live? Is this important to you, or you say
the job is the job. I'll find my community around me once I do this. But or is that really like part of the decision making?
Definitely important. Definitely important. I mean, there's an aspect of it where, I mean, we're a sport that's played in, you know, fairly major places where there's a Jewish community everywhere. That there's a Major League Baseball team. I mean, you know, my boys were born in St. Pete, and you know, we lived in the Tampa Bay area for a long time, and I had no concept of what Jewish life was like in Central Florida. When you think about Jewish life in Florida, you think about the East Coast, you think about South Florida, and by the numbers, it's not a very large community, but we built a wonderful life there, found an amazing community, still have lifelong friends within that community. So, you know, wherever you are, that's one of the great things that you can, if it's something you want, you can build that community. But at the same time, when you're thinking about this as a choice, especially now having kids and, you know, having a family and looking at this as home, it matters. And so those were things, you know, when you look at, I think this is true about family life in general in St. Louis. Like, just, it is amazing how many people you talk to. And I have some friends who have lived here. I had not spent much time here previously, even in baseball. Just, I was in the American League. We wasn't here that often. People love raising kids in St. Louis. I haven't found anybody who has had anything negative to say about that. So that was very appealing. Obviously, for a city, you know, again, you don't take for granted just a city of this size having such incredible culture and such a premium on education and such a culture around that. And I think the same thing's true in the Jewish community, where it's a pretty committed community.
Did you find a congregation?
I think we got a lead on one, but we haven't made a formal decision. I know you would be surprised. That's actually like a thing. People want to know what show are you going to join. So until it's locked,
you're gonna have a press conference, put the hat on and everything.
Do it decision
signing
style.
Day. I think we do. Maybe we unveil on Jews
I'm
in
not
the
that
Loop.
big time, but it has been a thing.
You're going to, no matter what you do, you're going to cultivate a fan base, and then you're going to cultivate a hate base, because people are gonna be upset about you, about which you're going to choose.
I'm used to that. You know, if nobody hates you, you're probably not doing enough things, right? If the only thing you're willing to do is things that are not controversial, you're not doing enough.
You know, if I'm universally loved, I don't feel comfortable. I need a good dosage of animosity directed towards me.
You'd be very at home in my field.
How do you handle that, though? Honestly, it's a real question.
Look,
because
he's the most soft-spoken person I've ever met. You know, when you think about people who run operations like yours, there's so much emotions. Fans are completely irrational. I'm a basketball fan. I know that I'm completely irrational. I'm the most hateful fan you could have. You know, self-hateful. Like, if my team doesn't win, I just
beat yourself. It's
beat
the worst.
Everybody, right? So we're irrational humans, fans, sports fans, but for you, it's much more than just fans. I mean, you make decisions, you build. I mean, you build an organization, you build community, you build culture within a community. So you're very pleasant, dude. Like,
thank you.
You know,
you barely know me.
Well,
I love that
you're soft-spoken, you're quiet, you're collected. You know, this is probably important. Is this like part of your personality, or do you have to kind of embrace that, like poker?
No, I mean, there's some of that. I do think, generally speaking, it is my personality. Like, I don't try to invent, you know, a personality.
You don't see confrontation?
You know, you learn over time in this business, it's going to find you. So sometimes you need to go find it on your terms, right? And when you don't do that, sometimes you learn that the hard way.
Somebody needs to remind me this.
Right? So,
you step out and look for conversation.
I mean, I don't try to pick fights, but at the end of the day, you know, if there's something you believe in, something where you think you need to put your foot down, or something has to be the way it has to be, and you don't do that, you may live to regret that. And so you learn those lessons over time.
Yeah. So I want to talk about food, because that's my world. And you keep kosher. So like glad kosher, like you're looking at or you just...
You know, it's funny. So we should get into detail on this. One of the things, this is actually a conversation I have so many times within baseball, because there's so many people that are curious about it. And in some cases, I might be the first Jewish person, or certainly the first observant Jewish person.
Well, we always talk about, like, I, at school even, was like the first Jewish person that many people met. And it's like, oh my God, like you don't realize because I grew up around so many different Jewish friends and everything, but you don't realize it. And then in your role, it probably is exponentially greater
anytime
than
I
that.
join a new organization, this is the field. You're around people all the time. You eat with people all the time. So
Oh,
it
you
always
eating
comes
these-
up,
yeah.
right?
So what's the answer?
So what I will do, so I will eat food that's not hechshered. Basically,
Yeah.
when I eat out, I essentially am vegetarian plus fish.
Yeah.
So I won't eat non-kosher meat. We keep a kosher home, separate dishes, don't mix
At
dairy
home?
and meat. Yes. So we are, the best way I could describe it is we're ingredient kosher,
Yeah.
but any meat
Perfect
has to be
answer.
kosher.
Yeah, just like my parents, like my mother, more specifically. So my mom, this is a Jewish deli, but it's not kosher. Obviously, we don't serve any pork or shellfish. We will add cheese to a sandwich if we must, if somebody demands it. But
Is the meat that you serve kosher?
some of the meat is kosher.
Okay.
But of course, the religious community won't eat here because it's not
Right.
kosher.
Yep.
So we're not VAD approved or anything like that. But if you navigate that the way you have, you should be fine to come have an egg salad sandwich at the deli.
The egg salad's a famous egg salad.
famous egg salad.
I would crush that.
You would crush that.
Absolutely.
Well, you probably got some around here you could
So
sample
we can-
live, don't you think? At some point.
Maybe we can go grab some for
Yeah.
sure. So you haven't had the chance to eat St. Louis style pizza.
No, not yet. That's still on the list. I
On
actually,
the
maybe I
list?
shouldn't say that on the record because I haven't done that yet, but I haven't. I will at some point.
Yeah. What are things about St. Louis? And let's not talk about the community. Some specific things you said. I like this place, or this is going to be a challenge for me. Like, is it things that jumped out at you? Like, I can tell you mine. I've lived here for 32 years. The fact that there is not really a lot of people walking still bugs the fuck out of me. Like, where are the people? Why people are not walking? So that's still a point. It's a pet peeve.
Where
that I
did
have
you
with
live
St.
before
Louis.
this?
Israel.
Oh, so you came from Israel to St. Louis?
Yes.
Where in Israel?
A place called Nes Ziona.
Where is it near? I don't know it.
Do you know Rehovot?
Yeah.
Do you know Rishon?
Yeah.
Rishon
Well,
LeZion?
yes.
So we're sandwiched between.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a small little community.
Got it. Yeah, again, I've lived in some different places, so obviously wanted to understand the organization and what the job would be. And I think within baseball, this organization, there obviously a ton of success, but also it's just been very consistent the way that the organization has operated, which I think is a good thing, and was appealing and gets a lot of respect within the industry. I don't know, when you talk about St. Louis again, I didn't know that much about it in specific, but more in the abstract, there's not I would say most of the cities of this size in the country are just not as distinctive. They don't have the history. They don't have the culture that this place has. Obviously, when you think
we're
about,
close today.
you think he's
Sorry.
You think he's thinking like that? You're obviously not.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was
I do, honestly,
if
when
it
I
was
walk in, I'm like
anyone
that.
else but you,
We could
I
have
would
had
have
you
probably got up and make a sale.
You
But
could
because
still
you're
do it.
here, I'm
That's
I'm joking.
That's fine.
No,
I didn't have any specific negatives. It's just obviously, especially with small kids, my wife's from the Boston area, so that's a big deal to move out of it, obviously, with a lot of her family being there. But I didn't have any negatives about here that I knew of. Probably after a couple of years, I'll have some for you.
Yeah,
but
of course.
to date, there haven't been
How do
any.
you so your kids? How old are your kids?
11, 9, and 4.
11, 9, and 4, and it's all boys.
2 boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl. So slightly younger than my kids, and he's got a
And
kid.
I have one coming in September, a girl.
all right.
First one.
Oh boy.
So your
Yeah.
Sleep now.
kids,
That's what I'm hearing. That's
so
what I'm
your
hearing.
kids hopefully are going to be St. Louis fans, Cardinal fans.
They already are.
They already are.
My boys are huge baseball fans. It's actually kind of funny because it's very much like a kind of a Twitter talk radio vibe.
Yeah.
So I promise you, there is nothing, no matter how angry you get watching sports, there is nothing that I think you could say or scream about this team or the work I do that I don't hear within my own house. It's actually helpful because obviously in this job, you can't really listen to the media that much, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not driving to work listening to sports talk radio. That's just like the dumbest idea you
Sure.
ever
Really,
it's
in
bad?
this job.
Sure.
It's just not good or bad, right? It's not something you should listen to. You should disregard both, right? You can't just say, "Oh, I'll listen to all the praise, but not any of the criticism."
Yeah.
No, you really should disregard both, but or at least not just necessarily disregard it, but you shouldn't have that stuff in your ears all the time to do a really good job.
It's
at
kind of
what
like
I do.
the outside noise of like you compare yourself to like the players when
Right.
people are talking negative about you as a player. The last thing you want to do for your own, I think, mental well-being is probably hear what they're saying and let that.
Yeah, it's just it's obviously it's not necessarily a healthy thing.
Who's
Right? It can
criticism
distract
really
you. So there's two things here. One, I think it's still really important in what we do, especially in a place like this. You
Yeah.
want to be connected to the fans. Like I actually care about that.
Yes.
And you need to know just so you can function in your job, especially as a leader and understand what everybody else is going through.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of what's out there.
Yeah.
You just don't want to have it in your ears all the time. I've realized as my boys have gotten older that intentionally or unintentionally, like I don't think they're on Twitter, but they probably have eggs because like it's amazing the type of things that they will say. So I think through them and them riding the roller coaster of emotions through
Yeah.
baseball season, I stay pretty connected to like
That's great.
the dark side of our fan base.
Sure.
They are my toughest critics
Yeah.
for sure.
There's so many parallels to the food world, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Food critics, the official ones at least. Of course I read and I listen, but they don't play as big a role as my guests. I listen to guests' complaints, but even the guests.
But his guests are Cardinal fans, and if you listen to, look, the reality is like we are the best fans in baseball, right? That's the
we?
name that we've officially given, I guess, ourselves or the baseball world's given us. But like, if you do listen to those guests, like Chaim said, like you can't. There's not a single possible way that you make everybody happy. Like with
No,
the
of course.
trades that you have to make and the things
Yeah.
that you have to do to line the team up for success down the road. Like, how do you stay focused in your own mind where I'm in this role and this is my decision?
Yeah, it's, I will say this, like I actually do really enjoy interacting with fans. Like I felt the same way in Boston, and that's obviously it's a baseball town as well. I really enjoy the interaction. I've had a blast with it here. Sometimes during games, I'll like walking around the ballpark sometimes people notice you, sometimes they don't, but just
But
to
you
get a
also
feel
had
for
success
it.
in Boston, so that helps too, right?
Well, there were ups and downs,
Yeah.
right? Like there was some success and there was plenty of adversity
Yeah.
too. So you kind of get it all. And people are always going to be more polite to your face than they will be behind a keyboard.
Oh, I
It's
know
the
about
nature
that.
of it. But yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I was gonna say my
I
kids are
haven't
the
done-
the best critics I have. My children,
Because they'll be honest with
because
you. They'll
they'll
just say things to your face.
Yeah.
So, I think on one hand, it really just comes down to knowing yourself and understanding what it is that you're trying to execute on. I think it is really important to pay attention to people within the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because whether it's your ownership, your teammates in the front office, your staff, your players, like you do need to be in tune with how they feel. Like I just believe you should always be listening to them.
Yeah.
I do think it helps to be able to both get some quiet time at times just to stay in tune with yourself. Also, just make sure you're kind of taking the outside view sometimes on what you're executing. Write things down, hold yourself accountable to your own plan. This is something where things unfold over a long period of time, but there's this daily up and down. It has a lot of potential for that to distract you from what you're trying to execute on.
Yeah.
So the clearer you can be with yourself about what am I trying to accomplish, how do I want to do it, the easier it is to stick to that. And then just understanding yourself. You're talking about the ups and downs, the emotions that you get watching sports. I mean, we have all those same things. And you have to train yourself to separate those from decision making. But what I think is really important, I actually think this is really important. Like if I was going to make a joke when you said, I'm so pleasant. I was just going to say, all those emotions, I just internalize them. It's totally healthy. But it's really true that, like, I don't think the answer is just blocking them out or shutting them off because we're human, right? If you're not in tune with your emotions, you're still going to have them. You just won't realize it. And then they'll seep into other things that they shouldn't. So I actually think it's really important to feel what you feel and then just understand, be in touch with that, identify that for what it is, and then be able to separate it when sometimes you need to look past that and make the hard decision.
I have to say something. It's a thought that just came to me.
You know, if I just met you, knew nothing about you, your mannerisms, I go back to just your vibe. You're very much a Midwestern guy. No, I'm serious. You know,
No,
when I think of
I'm
someone
laughing
from,
because I'm obviously not, right?
yeah, you're obviously not
Looking to become one, but I'm definitely not.
But I think that there is a reason why you're here. I mean, I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason, and in, you know, whatever, however you want. I'm a superstitious guy. I also believe that there is. Anyway, my point was, I think it's no accident that you're here, in charge of maybe one of the most important cultural, you know, pieces of St. Louis.
Yeah.
You talk about St. Louis culturally, the Cardinals are an important piece, right? But, you know, when you think about someone from the East Coast, someone that grew up in Philly, that managed a team in Boston, you think of people that are very, I mean, at least in my mind, eccentric,
Yeah.
loud,
A
boisterous,
little more aggressive
a little more
towards.
aggressive. And you just give me a very Midwestern vibe, which is what I like about this town. It's this, you know, this politeness, this even a little bit of intellectual reflection in a lot of what you say. There is a lot of it's not things you just say, things that you probably had some time to think about and you know, compose your thoughts, or, you know.
Yeah.
So I think you'll do just fine here. I mean, I think that you have what it takes to win people over here. I don't. I'm just telling you this.
And yet,
And
32
yet
years. you
Yeah,
made it.
I won some people over, but I'm coming at it from the perspective of I'm a little older than you, from the perspective of what does it take to navigate, you know, St. Louis, people
Yeah,
in St.
right.
Louis. And I think you have it. I think he's going to be, and I think it will pay off. I mean, I think your personality, at least from the 5 minutes or the 15 minutes that I've met you, is going to pay off.
How do you
because
think-
people really respond in St. Louis, in the Midwest, but in St. Louis specifically, people do respond to this, and I think it's going to be a huge tool in your box when you're handling people here.
Well, and talking about your demeanor, like, how do you feel your, I guess specifically your Jewish upbringing and your Jewish traditions that you were raised with, and how to treat people and treat others how you want to be treated yourself? Like, how do you feel like that has, like, ultimately, yes, gotten you to where you're at today, but helped you overcome all the adversity, like you mentioned, in the role that you are in?
Yeah, really good question. I have thought about this a little bit. Like, you know, you don't have the alternate universe, right? I don't know what the non-Jewish me would have looked
Right,
like,
right.
and how he would have navigated all these situations. But what I can say, I think it's two things. One, just growing up religious, growing up Jewish, the idea of being part of something much bigger than yourself and valuing being connected to something much bigger than yourself,
Yes.
like that is just part of who I am. And maybe that has something to do with why Jews connect with baseball so much, because it's very clear when you're in baseball, like, this thing is bigger than all of us, right? It was here way before us. It's going to be here long after us. We're really all just passing through. You want to make your mark, yes, but we're all just passing through this, and it's bigger than us. It's going to move on past us, right? You know, you experience these ups and downs, right? We need it more than it needs us, right?
Yes.
It's going to chew us up and spit us out. So really, what you do take from it is the impact you have on other people. And so much of that comes with relationships and connections. So it's really, I think, those two things. One, just having this awareness of being part of something much bigger, which any role in an organization, certainly including mine, even with this level of responsibility, authority, power, whatever you want to call it, you're still part of something much bigger.
Sure.
And the goal is to get this much bigger thing to move in a certain direction. And, you know, I think being aware of that really helps. But ultimately, just how you treat people, I think, matters.
Yeah.
One of the things, what you're saying is, reminds me of a conversation we had with one of the more important Jewish figures in St. Louis. Is a guy named Michael Steinberg, a self-made billionaire, a guy that is an entrepreneur,
A big supporter of our show.
a big supporter of our show, big supporter of all Jewish causes in St. Louis. The guy steps up every time you ask him to, you know, really kind of a glue to the community here. But Michael, who grew up poor and really built an empire with his own both hands, said something to me or to us in our conversation here. And he said that when you get to be in any organization, when you get to have what you said, influence, power, clout, there's two things you can look at it. You can abuse it, or you can feel the responsibility of having it. And that responsibility is, if you take that responsibility seriously, it motivates you to do the one thing he said is the single most important thing, is to build relationships. Relationship building, connecting with people at all levels is what that power and clout and influence allowed him. And it's kind of a self-sustaining, and that's how you build culture. In the end of the day, that's how you build culture. And I think what I hear from what you just described is that you see power and this authority as something that would allow you take it seriously. You feel the responsibility of it rather than just the influence of it, right? There's two ways to look at it. I got here. You're saying I got here, and now I got to make sure that I have the responsibility of making sure that I pass it down, that I build those relationships, make those connections.
Yeah, well, it's both about obviously like how you treat people as part of who you are and your legacy and how you want people to remember you. But it also, to me, should go hand in hand with what we're trying to accomplish. The whole point of this is to build and sustain a winning organization. Yeah. And I feel like that type of connection, that type of impact you can have on the people around you, because we all have to do this together. Like hopefully that's some sort of superpower on the way to doing that. I think as I've gone more and more in my career, what also comes with that, and we were talking about it a little bit, just having that positive impact on people isn't just about making them laugh and smile and saying nice things. It's also about honesty and candor and challenging people. And I think that's certainly true within the organization. Part of what comes with this role is a lot of tough decisions, tough conversations. Yeah. And the reality is, if you don't have them, if you know they're necessary but you don't have them, you're probably hurting those people, and you're definitely hurting your organization, right? So it doesn't mean you're going to get them all right, but the importance of having those is real. And then, with that, I think actually really relevant to this, particularly, I think for this fan base, like one thing that was very clear to me, and I wanted to try to set that tone from day one, and it's something that I'm saying this in part because I want our fans to continue to hold me accountable to this, is just being very candid and honest with our fans about where we are, what's going on, good, bad, ugly, whatever. You can do that when you have a really passionate and engaged fan base like we have.
So where are we going to be this year? Tell me, you guys.
Well, I mean, let's just call it what it is. The success right now, there's been a lot of things. Like, look, we're not here to talk about like all the things that the sports writers are writing about, right? But like, certainly the team has surprised a lot of people right now, and you're like you said, you're an open book where you're talking about these things. The team has been very surprising based on, I guess, the plan of. This is what a 3, 5, 7 year plan, right? In I guess the grand scheme of things, but it seems like it's moving a little bit quicker than maybe you even had thought yourself.
Well, hopefully not 7, right? That's not good. But look, I tried to be really blunt and really open that I think we had to view this as a multi-year thing, and also that. We needed to prioritize this long-term goal of being a consistently championship organization year in, year out, which obviously is what our fans are accustomed to, and it's where we need to be. We needed to prioritize the things that push us toward that goal over short-term gratification. And when those two things, what feels good right now and what pushes us towards that goal, when they're running in opposite directions, we got to choose the long-term. Sure. So, you go back to the off-season, made a bunch of trades. That was basically what was behind those. And it's not because that we thought that the players we were moving weren't good players. It's because we felt that doing that was going to position us closer to that goal. Now, all that being said, at no point were we looking to concede anything in the here and now. And I think culturally, what is happening within this group, that was the mindset we wanted to instill in this group, whether it was staff or players, is we're going to be willing to come by this honestly, right? We're going to build this the right way. We're going to build it to last. Yep. But we're not going to concede anything. And in fact, I think one of the biggest mistakes you can make when you are undertaking a long-term project is somehow, even subconsciously, and I think this is probably more true for your staff than for your players, but it's true for everybody. You don't want people to start thinking, well, because this goal is somewhere in the future, I don't have to be great today.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot let that mindset take root, because at the end of the day, the only way you get where you're trying to go is by being consistently excellent. The reality is, even when if you've been in first place for the last decade, most of the people in your organization, most of your staff on any given day are working on things that don't have anything to do with that night's game.
Sure.
They're doing things, whether it's in scouting or development or working in the office, that are designed to bear fruit over a long period of time. We have to have a mindset to where, even though we might be working on some of those things that are longer term, you're still competing against the 29 other people who are lucky enough to do what you do for different teams, and you got to kick their ass.
Yeah.
Whatever it is on your plate that day. And if you do that and you bring that every day, you probably get where you want to go a lot more quickly. And I think when you are willing to make those hard choices and stay focused on that long-term goal, you set yourself up sometimes for some positive surprises in the short term.
Yeah.
And I think some of that might be what we're seeing now, that I think to the extent that we do have kind of a different vibe and a different culture. I hope we do. It's something we spend a lot of time talking about. I think just our willingness to commit to this has hopefully made that easier, that we now have a group of players, by and large, that are in similar places in their careers. They can all kind of move together and start building something that's theirs.
Yeah.
We know the standard in St. Louis here is exceptionally high. The Cardinals have always set that standard. Our players now are feeling that this is their chapter to write. It's their standard to set. And I think that only happens when you're really committed to the bit.
Yeah. How's your relationship? Because you're a younger guy. How's your relationship like with the players? I know you're a hands-on guy. You have that connection. Talk about that culture that you just kind of talked about a little bit. Now we're seeing like the outside culture of the fan base. Like, maybe we should be doing this interview with our shirts off.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't
tarps
ask you
off,
guys
right?
if I should have come with a shirt on or not. I
Did you
decided
see
to take
this,
the chance and wear a shirt.
Tarps off, man. The people are waving the. You didn't see this?
Google
whole
it.
thing going
You
on?
read about this weekend. It was really cool.
Oh, it's
No,
a whole new trend.
Spontaneously, we had, it was actually, it was awesome. It was
Well,
unbelievable.
tell me about it.
Well, Chaim, you want to go? You
Yeah,
wanna
we're
let 'em
sitting
know?
we're sitting at Friday night's game.
From his perspective, I like this. From your perspective,
Yeah, I'm sitting in the box. We had a solid crowd Friday night, first game of the series against Kansas City.
Great weather.
And the game ends up going on, and as the game goes on, you notice, it's starting to get a little rowdy in right field,
Yep.
in that right field deck. And eventually there's like a whole crowd of what looked like college kids, just with their shirts off, getting really into the game. And we
Yeah.
played 11 innings. It was a really
long
dramatic game, like back and forth. Easily could have won it at points where we didn't. Easily could have lost it at points where we didn't. Eventually we walk it off. One of those games that probably takes at least a few seconds off your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully a long time from now. But it started to take hold, and it was very spontaneous. That eventually there were a few sections of these dudes just waving their shirts. It was like sort of almost more like something out of a soccer crowd. You find out after the game, it was a club baseball team from Stephen F. Austin that was just up here for a tournament, and they all came to the game. So we end up inviting them back the next day, and people, this is a baseball town, right? People notice these things.
Yeah.
They got more people to jump in. They came back on Saturday, and they got a bunch of people to jump in.
Yeah.
Ali, our manager, bought some tickets, and we did a thing where
So
anybody
that's
who
how
wanted to sit
traditions
there.
start.
And so
Right?
it was a thing again on Saturday. We went on Saturday. And then, yesterday, by the end, actually, those guys couldn't even make it yesterday because they had like a 5 o'clock game or something. They couldn't come. But there were other people in there that did the tarps off thing. And by the end of the game, there were 4 sections of shirtless dudes out there just getting into everything.
Yeah.
And, it was cool energy, right? Like, our
Energy's
players noticed. Like, they noticed, and they took energy from it. But you come back from the West Coast, no off day. You got a weekend series, extra innings. You got a day game the next day.
Right.
Like, I think our guys were a little more jacked up for those games because of what the atmosphere in the park
And that's super
was.
important, especially given the fact that you are talking about kind of long-term goals and multi-year stuff and building. And no instant gratification, but I think energy of the here and now is so important, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's what I was-
because you can get lost in this idea that you're part of a process, and the process could be very, very boring because we're just part of that process. We'll get there.
years ago, I had this. Well, actually, let me tell you a funny story. Um, there's this thing in my company. We had a manager that used to always say, "We're gearing up. We're gearing up." And at some point, I said, "What the fuck is gearing up? What are we gearing? We're doing it right now." And I tell them the story of my dad. My dad was born in a survivors camp in Germany immediately after the war, and he was born to a very educated mother, and my grandfather and my grandmother. My grandfather came from a shtetl in Poland. Very unlikely couple. My grandmother was an urbanite, educated. Grandfather, huge gap. But they made a vow that if they survive it together, they'll marry, and they married. They immigrated to Israel, the whole line. So my grandmother was this very ladylike, professional lawyer. My grandfather was a painter. And during a summer job, my dad worked for him painting houses. And my dad was 14 or 15 years old. And he would, my grandfather dropped him off at his house today. I'll come get you lunch at noon, whatever the timing was. Paint this, blah, blah, blah. It was a complicated job. My father, who's now a retired IT engineer, did this incredible plan, this process. He had a spreadsheet. We'll paint this first. This is the amount of paint we need. This is that. He was very excited. Comes home. My grandfather comes to the job site, and nothing's painted. And my father's like so excited to say, "Dad, I'm going to show you this. I calculated this is the amount of paint we're going to need. We're going to do this thing. We're going to start here. We're going to go here. We're going to do this." My grandfather looked at him. Said, "Oh, very nice, very nice." He took the bucket of paint. He spritzed it on the wall, walked around and says, "Paint the fucking wall," and walked out.
Sometimes you need some of that, but that's exactly what I was talking about. So like I felt and still feel strongly like the strategy needs to be a long-term strategy. Right? But the strategy and the standard are two different things. And the strategy can be long-term, but the standard is like, it doesn't matter if you're scouting teenagers in Venezuela, or if you're building a player plan for pitcher and A-ball, or if you're putting bat tracking data into our draft model in the office, like kick someone's ass today.
Paint the fucking
and that's
wall.
the standard.
Times here painting the wall every day.
So that's what we do at our company. We have this thing, paint the fucking wall. Like,
Paint the fucking wall
Get it
today.
done. Like just let's do it.
Yeah.
But this so I just heard something that intrigued me. Scouting young players in Venezuela. I know from the little bit that I read about you on your Wikipedia page, how passionate you are about youth baseball, about just youth sport culture in general, and about building something. Now we're talking about strategy, recognizing the importance of instilling the mentality, the foundation. So talk about your work in that world of youth baseball, just youth in general. Like how central is it
just
to
being honest, I wouldn't necessarily say it's about youth baseball so much. It's just that's how you win consistently in our game is through young players. It's how the Cardinals have always won.
Yeah.
And that's part of why the Cardinals have been so successful over the last 100 years is because they have always led the way and always set the standard in building teams from within.
From within.
And the best way to do that is usually with the players that you sign and develop. Obviously, there are others that you might acquire and trade, and then you build around that, right? You can bring in veterans through trades, through free agency. It's not just young players, but the core of consistently successful baseball teams is almost always grown from within. So when we talk about youth baseball, like this isn't like Little League or high school or whatever, that's where we're getting our players. But it's really just about having a system that gets that where you can acquire talent better in the competition and get more out of it than the competition does. That's really when we talk about scouting and player development. That's what we're trying to do. You got 30 teams trying to find and develop the best players. We have to find ways to do that better than the competition. And the race to be great at that has gained so much steam over the course of my career where it's not optional to really grind at that and really do everything you can to kick ass in that area. If you cannot, if you're not excellent at that, you're not going to be able to win consistently. And that's how the Cardinals have always won. It's just that the standard for what it means to be great at that is consistently moving forward because we are in a zero-sum competitive industry. There's one trophy, or so everybody's always looking for ways to beat each other, and it just keeps moving forward. And that's one thing that, I've spent a lot of energy both within the organization and to our fans talking about is like, you look at the Cardinals, what has set the Cardinals apart is Cardinals have always set the standard for that. You go back 100 years ago, the Cardinals literally invented the farm system. Branch Rickey invented that here in St. Louis. And then you can fast forward another 40 years to George Kissel, who's a legendary instructor who changed the way people thought about teaching the game. And those are just two examples, but there have always been ways throughout history that the Cardinals have set the standard, but the standard's always moving forward. That's what happens. You set it, people follow you. Now it just becomes what the industry does. And now to get a competitive advantage, you got to go set it again. And that's really our job. That's when we think about what we're doing as a baseball operation, it's trying to move that forward and set the standard and be that organization that everybody else is going to follow.
Yeah. I was going to say, I know we don't have a ton, much more time, but I guess that goes to my thought of like tradition and looking at like college sports now specifically and the NIL and everything that goes into that. How much, because Cardinals, the Cardinal organization we talk about is built on tradition, years and years and years back of tradition. How important, and it ties into our Jewish conversation as well, but how important is exactly. Now we're going to be talking Fiddler on the Roof. How important and how do you feel like tradition is changing just everything in general? I mean, and as an Indiana
Before
guy,
you answer, what's the Hebrew word for tradition?
what is the?
Ooh boy, I should know this.
Yeah, you should know.
Do you know it?
Would it be Morashah? Is that it?
Moshe? Oh, that's legacy, but that's also tradition.
Close.
Masoret.
Okay.
Yeah.
Close.
So,
oh
but
God.
Moshe too.
My extended family and some
That's
of my
a
Hebrew
great
teachers
word to
listen to
know.
this podcast. They are going to be.
What is it?
Moshe.
Okay.
Moshe is tradition in the grand. I mean, it's tradition and legacy mixed in.
Yeah. So how do you feel like that's kind of played in? Like where do you see tradition?
Well, I think it's one of our biggest competitive advantages is that we have this amazing legacy. I mean, I'll give you what my view is on it, and I kind of just talked about it, where I think the danger that comes in when you think about tradition is when you think about it as something, well, it is the way it is, right?
Yes.
Like the answer that we can't accept for anything in the organization, in my view, is as to why are we doing something is, well, this is the way we've always done it. I think our tradition is one of setting that standard. It is one of moving things forward. It becomes tradition in our field because it works. It beats people. And then everybody wants to do it, and now it just becomes part of how you operate.
And when it doesn't, you have to change it.
Right. So our tradition really is moving things forward and setting that standard. That is the tradition of the Cardinals. It becomes tradition because it works, it takes hold, and it just becomes part of what we do. But so I think that when we step into that legacy, when we step into those shoes that you get to step into when you are a member of this organization, the best way to honor that is to try to keep setting that standard, not to settle for just this is the way we've always done it, but how do we need to do it now in order to win?
Yeah, this is an unbelievable finish to this conversation, I would say.
Well, I want to throw a couple just quick things at him.
But for I think this is the most Jewish thing you've said the entire conversation, because I think if you look at our tradition, the Jewish tradition, it's empirical. It's not static. Jews have changed the way we do things in order to adapt, to grow, to survive, and to inspire. Those are the things that always happen. So it's tradition are not sets of principles that you just can't break. They're actually a mentality that allows you to grow beyond what's there. And you just articulated it so perfectly. So I mean, I'm inspired.
That what you just said was inspiring, but I think that's really true, and I that is a kind of a connection between
that's a connection.
Religion and what I get to do for a living is like when you know who you are, where you come from, where your feet are. I think it becomes a lot easier to move forward.
Absolutely.
Last things I want to touch on: favorite Jewish food that you grew up with that you still continue that is still part of your life today that sticks out to you, and then we always like to ask. Yiddish word that kind of sticks out to you that maybe you find yourself using every once in a while when you're in a conversation, or that you've kind of snuck in, like Scott Rosenblum told us he snuck something in a courtroom one time when they were finding a guy not guilty, right? He's like, what is it for you?
Well, the first one, being someone who does not eat non-kosher meat out, a lot of people that I'm around, they would think or assume that I'm a vegetarian. It's anything but. There's a lot of things that I could definitely go for. It's really hard to find kosher ribs because obviously they're always going to be beef ribs. But when
Right.
you find good kosher ribs, man, those are
That's
really
part of the
good.
problem in St. Louis is we don't really offer. We don't have a lot of kosher options. It just doesn't exist here.
I found that like St. Pete to some degree was the same way, and you can get it if you
can get
really
around
want it.
Yeah, I'm
You
talking
find
about a
it.
restaurant where you can
Yep.
just go sit down and.
Yeah, but that's okay. But yeah, good. So that or like a great hot corned beef sandwich.
That we can
Yeah.
help with.
That you can definitely help with.
I want to know about.
Well, Yiddish term.
Oh, Yiddish term, yeah.
Yiddish term.
One more I'll throw in there, by the way, in the food front
Yeah.
is cholent, like a good
good
cholent.
cholent, huh?
That's,
You know what
that's
that
I
good.
don't know if I do. No.
A cholent? You don't know
It's
what
like a
cholent is?
traditional sort of like Shabbat afternoon.
Shabbat
It's like a beef and bean and potato
Okay.
Well,
stew.
the interesting thing about this is that you find it in different Jewish cultures all around the world, and it's kind of similar. It's basically on Friday night before Shabbat comes in, you prepare this hodgepodge of things, typically things that require long cooking, and you put them on a plate, on a hot plate, and it cooks slowly overnight, and then
Okay.
it's brown and it's satisfying, and but you find it everywhere in there's different version of cholent in all the different cultures. My mom is from Morocco. She makes what we call schena, which is a very similar thing. But yes, I love that stuff. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Okay.
And so yeah, I keep going back to the food
Yeah.
topic because
I'll have
I'd like
try
to
that.
eat.
I'll try that. soon.
I mean, there's other things I could do. I'm also getting hungry for lunch. We
Yeah.
could talk forever
right.
about food. Now I'm getting even hungrier talking about it.
Yeah.
Man, a good Yiddish word or phrase. Now you're asking for one that like sneaks into.
Yeah, it could be, or something that's
That you use often.
Yeah.
It's like part of your day-to-day vocabulary.
I don't know how often I use it. I'm gonna get this wrong, but so my mom has some Yiddish and grew up in like a Yiddish speaking household, so she'll have some pretty good ones. As I think about them, I think a lot of them were probably just more polite ways of saying "go fuck yourself."
Yeah.
But
which is usually what most of them are. Like my dad's been using Schmendrick a lot.
Schmendrick.
a lot.
One of my favorite ways of the Yiddish ways of telling someone to go.
should I not have said that on this?
No,
you should
no,
have,
no,
yeah.
you
Go
can
fuck
say
yourself
whatever you want on here.
Is go take a shit in the sea. I don't know how that
I don't know that
come
one.
about.
Yeah,
Gay
she would say
coquignon.
"dreh sich dein Kopf," which means I don't even know what it means, but I understood it as "go after yourself," and I'm probably mangling it. I mean, there's some of the obvious ones that have kind of gotten into
Like, will
just
you ever
common
be talking
parlance.
about a guy at another organization and be like, that guy's kind of a schmuck?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
No,
you know,
but that's almost
that's
not Yiddish at
Yeah,
this
right,
point.
right,
You know, I had
right.
somebody a couple years ago. I think this is when I was at the Red Sox. I can't remember which organization I was with. Somebody, I want to say it was a staff member, but it could have been a player, came up to me and was like, "Can you tell me about chutzpah?"
Chutzpah. Oh, I love this. This is right up there with Chinooka.
Chinooka, that's a good one. You've seen that.
Yeah.
Smokey Robinson's Chinooka. Chutzpah, that's fun. That's
Chutzpah,
good.
that's
What
great.
was your response?
Well, I did take a little beat, and I said, "Yeah, but do you mean chutzpah?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. What is it?" Like, all right, let's have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't.
There is no
there's not
straightforward answer.
Right, exactly. It's like-
Audacity, but no, it's
That's
far
the thing. That's the
more
thing.
than
There,
that.
Yiddish is one of those languages. There's a lot of terms where like you can't just give a translation. You say, "All right, sit down. Let's have a conversation."
You should. Everybody in our audience should probably many of them have already should own a book called "The Joys of Yiddish." Leo Rosten's. This is an incredible book of just the world of Yiddish and how it found its way to English. To Yinglish, so to speak. It's no more than just about terminology, and it's also about the way you say things, the way you pronounce things, where you're putting where the emphasis goes. The big thing is like Larry David who can ask you the same question 5 different ways, and it means 5 different things, right? Did the Cardinals win last night? Did the Cardinals win last night? Or did the Cardinals win? Depending on where you
Yiddish really trains you to be good at that.
Yeah.
One that my mom would sometimes use. That I think Yiddish has a lot of words that sort of like you don't even need to understand them. The way they sound tells you what they would
They're
say.
feeling. They are
and so
feeling.
One word that she would use that I think means like sort of like bent, and broken, or twisted is oisgeboigen.
Oisgeboigen, yeah, exactly.
And sometimes, I mean, if you're writing oisgeboigen in a scouting report, it's probably not somebody you should have that much interest in. But if someone did, I would understand it. But then I probably wouldn't have interest in the play.
Oh man, too funny.
Anything else outside of baseball? I'm sure food now. You've told us you're a foodie. What are other passions, interests, hobbies?
I used to be more of a well-rounded person. Now it's really just work and family.
Yeah.
That's mostly it. Like I do like to cook in my spare time. I used to read more books.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
I still read. It's just more articles and stuff. When I came into some free time in the fall of 23, when the Red Sox got sick of me, I started reading some books again. But, that's, like I said, I have 3 kids, this job, like it's really, it really, most of my time is spent one or the other. And frankly, you're always making trade-offs there.
Yeah.
I'm probably less of a well-rounded person than if you had asked me that question 20 years ago.
That's great. Is there anything else that you want to leave people, again, outside of baseball with?
Well, keep in mind that the majority of people watching these are middle-aged Jews, so
The non-Jews, we got the others watching as well.
yeah, some people.
But is there anything that you want to leave people with that we didn't maybe necessarily talk about, I guess, in regards to the Jewish community or just in general, like about Chaim Bloom?
Nothing that I can think of in particular. I'm just excited to really be here. Like people ask me, how's it like living in St. Louis? And I say, I don't really know yet because I won't feel like I live here till my family's here. But we're just, like I said, the welcome to the community has been so amazing. We're just excited to really become part of it.
Yeah.
And just get to put some roots down here and really integrate into this community.
What I'm excited about as a transplant, as someone who's not from St. Louis, someone not from this country, but lived here most of my life, is that I'm a big city of St. Louis proponent. I love this place. It's my adopted home, so I feel like I have even bigger responsibility to represent it well. And I think when we get to have people like you to become ambassadors for the city, it's a huge plus. And when they have a name like Chaim Bloom, it's even a bigger plus.
He's
So-
giving St. Louis life.
Yes, and he's also making sure that people everywhere know that this is a selfish thing, but the Jewish community is contributing to the enrichment of the cultural fabric of St. Louis, and so this is one of the biggest wins for me. Now you just have to provide the receipts, right? Now you just have to get results.
Absolutely.
Win,
That's the whole point of this thing.
Absolutely.
Chaim Bloom, we appreciate it.
Amazing.
President of baseball operations with the St. Louis Cardinals. How about that? Unbelievable. You were awesome. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Amazing conversation.
Yeah.